I am so absolutely grateful that Blair Channing Rae stopped by the Ripple Effect podcast today. This woman is someone that caught my eye and attention on social media. I have loved every time her post pops up on X or Twitter or whatever the hell Elon's calling it today, and Instagram, because she just lights up the screen. Her smile's infectious. Her attitude about the world is infectious. Her desire to create positivity out there in the world is infectious. She's a Navy veteran. She is a social worker by day and a social media influencer by night. She's a writer. She is got a personality that doesn't quit. You're going to see that in this interview. Blair Channing Rae is the real deal. When you think about great people who enter your life that show up in unexpected times, we often ignore these things. And I don't know what it was about reaching out to her, connecting with her probably over a year ago now, but there was a spark. And the spark was the thread of friendship and a desire to get to know me and a desire to get to know how we can contribute to one another's lives. And it has taken a while for us to get this thing scheduled, but I'm so grateful we stayed patient and focused and diligent to get it done. When you see this interview, the camaraderie, the rapport, you'll be like, hey, these guys got to be friends for like way back. With this today, it was the first day we actually met on video. Everything else has been email or social media conversations. The beautiful thing about that is this just goes to prove that if you put your time and your energy in getting to know people, they can be clear across the world, clear across the state, clear across your city. Never meet them in person. Hopefully I will meet her in person one day, but that you can turn a connection, an ordinary connection, into something extraordinary. And I'm so grateful for her support. I'm grateful for her being in my life and just the fact that we could do this. I think when you listen to this interview or you watch it on YouTube, you're going to see what I saw, which is a woman who is on a mission to make a difference and do great things in this world because she's gone through these experiences. She understands the challenges with mental health. She knows what we're up against in so many ways. And she is not running from the fight. She is going headlong into it. And she has a mission to change the world. And I have no doubt in my mind that she will. And with no further ado, let's dive into our interview with Blair Channing Rae. Guys, I am super excited to have my good friend and, just a character join me today for this podcast. Blair Channing Rae is joining us for the Ripple Effect podcast. I met Blair online through Instagram initially and then started following her on a couple of other platforms. And I'll tell you why I follow her, because there are people that just make you smile when their posts pop up. And she is one of those people. She exudes positivity. She exudes what we're about at the Ripple. And I'm so grateful she squeezed us into her jam-packed schedule to come join us today. So Blair, welcome to the Ripple Effect podcast. How are you doing?
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for having me. I'm doing great. I wish it were warmer here, but we're waiting on it. It's spring at least.
It's spring. So tell everybody where you are, in the US right now.
I am in Washington, D.C., and right now we're coming up on the Cherry Blossom Festival.
Yeah.
That's a big deal here. And so I'm looking forward to it. I've only lived here about 4 years, and this will be my first time.
Oh, that's awesome. So is it like
Yeah,
a big thing down like on the like near the National Monument, right? The whole area
correct.
right there is
The
just
tidal
beautiful.
basin or something.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So what is it about the festival that attracted you this year but not the last three?
Well, I'm familiar with a lot more people, so it's more of a social affair. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, I have zero issues going out by myself, but for something like that, I like to be around natives who understand. And most of my friends are transplants like I am. They don't
Yep.
get it.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So you go with
What
some natives and they can explain everything.
That's perfect. Yeah. I mean, that's the way to go. You get the inside scoop. You get the,
Hmm.
all that undisclosed knowledge of people that have been doing it forever, and they tell you where to go, what to do.
Yep.
I like it.
And
So
they
you're rippling.
enjoy
You're
looking at
rippling
it.
when you're doing that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and they like looking at it through my lens because it's like, oh yeah, I've never looked at it like that before. She's a first timer.
Well, so let me ask you, what brought you to the DC area?
Well, I've always wanted to live in a big city. So when I was 6 years old, I told my mom and dad I was going to live in New York. And they were like, sure, everyone says that. And my uncle and auntie had this show that they liked to watch called Green Acres.
Oh,
And
yes. I
you
love
know,
that
it's
show.
Zsa Zsa Gabor's character, and
Yeah.
she's like, "Darling, I love you, but give me Park Avenue." And I just looked at my mom and dad like, "Yeah, I like the country, but the city's calling my name." So after leaving North Carolina for a couple of years, I finally got the opportunity to come here and get settled. And I love living in an urban area. There's so much to do.
Yeah. Yeah. DC is, I think a lot of people sleep on DC. There's so much culture. There's so much to do while you're there. And that's even
Hmm.
outside of like what people know, like the Smithsonian, National Museum. Those things are great, but they have so many like cool, there's a great theater vibe. There's a great nightlife. There's just an energy and an enthusiasm. And if you can stay away from all the politicians, it's a really cool place to be.
Well, good luck with that.
Yeah.
I find that DC is pretty insular. Like if you live there, you don't really hang out much outside of that. I think the I've been to Manassas, I've been to Leesburg, and those are probably like too far out for most people.
Yeah.
But yeah, DC is just the nice, right type of vibe. I like the diversity. I like all the amenities you named. But let's not forget the food.
Yes. Yes.
Food is great.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. I love that. So you are finding your traction there after 4 years. Now you're going to be like all the rest of the natives and be like, this is the Cherry Blossom Festival. It's not been popping until you showed up. And then now all of a sudden it's on a new level.
Well, I'm going to try and get as many people to go with me this year so we can make it a thing. I
Yeah.
just think it would be so cool to get some annual stuff in because I don't have my own traditions here.
That's, well, if they select you as the Cherry Blossom Queen, then you'll have the whole entourage following you next year. So
I don't know if I want that kind of attention, though, Steve.
that could be over the top, could be too much, right?
Could be just a tad bit too much. Then I have to go all anonymous online and no one could find me.
Well, so speaking of online, that's how you and I connected, right? And
Hmm.
one of the things that I just really want to say to your face that I feel like you need to hear is you exude a level of positivity and just, the best way I could describe you is a ray of sunshine, right? You really have a really phenomenal way of just improving people's day by the posts that you make. And I just love your take on a lot of things. I like your approach. I like your energy and your vibe. How is it that you found your way onto like the platforms like Instagram? Are you trying to tell us a little bit about that journey into social and kind of what you want to do with it and how you're doing it? Because I know kind of one of your strengths is focusing on writing, right? And that's the area that most interests you. So tell us a little bit about how the social, platforms came to be and what your experience has been so far.
So I'm thinking back really far now, Steve. It's like, let's go back to AOL. Chat
You're not.
rooms on
There's no way
AOL.
you're old enough to know AOL. That's no way.
See, I'm going to take you back. The nostalgia is going to hit you over the head. AOL chat rooms.
Oh
And I
yeah.
got started connecting with people from different areas, and I liked it.
Yep.
And along with being able to express yourself, not so much behind the screen, but just with words, you
Yep.
know? And so I think it was when MySpace and Facebook took off that I realized I had a knack for connecting with people and was great with content. And it just took off from there. A year into it, I decided to start talking about my mental health struggles.
Hmm.
I do live with bipolar disorder. And so that was a little frightening at first to share,
Yeah.
but just having that community come around because there are other people out there going through it. Really, people say that, but there really are. So getting that community with me really helped me make some strides in my mental health. And from there, I've just combined a little bit of advocating for mental health as well as connecting with more people for the opportunity to tell some stories, which I'm currently working on now in a book of essays called The Social Experiment. And it's just like it sounds, we've got social media, so it's like an experiment of sorts. And I've just gone back to about 2007 and taken different accounts online and written them up in a cute little set of essays.
Oh, that's awesome. Can you give us like a idea of the framework of the essays where where you're kind of focused on? Are you trying to prove out a theory? Are you trying to illuminate, how different it is now versus then or
I could go back for now versus then,
okay.
but really, it's just to get some important topics out there. I'm really big on, again, we're talking mental health,
Hmm.
Alzheimer's disorder, um, hmm, some family stuff, because I recently went on Ancestry. My father's dad passed away when he was very young, and my grandmother moved the family away from her in-laws. And just from there, we've got a really interesting backstory. A family of sharecroppers who migrated
Really?
to the north, the Great Migration, as I'm sure
Yeah.
you've heard about.
Yep. Yep.
And everyone went off to college and got great careers, and just we have a generation of scholars in our family. So I'd like to talk more about that.
That's
My
awesome.
relationship with my dad, who recently passed away from Alzheimer's,
I'm sorry.
and working through the grief has helped me find the strength to restart my blog and get back out there with these essays. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm working on now.
That's great. Well, you and I have that in common. My mom suffered with Alzheimer's for 10 years and it is,
Wow, I did
in
not.
fact, actually, I did another interview just a little while ago for the podcast. It was
Mhm.
talking to that guest about Alzheimer's and just how absolutely devastating it is. She's dealing with it with one of her parents right now, and just how hard and people don't recognize the upheaval it causes in a family. There's various stages, right? But I was reminding her because she's in one of the rough stages that, but her parent can still sort of recognize
Mhm.
people. And I said, I had somebody reset the perspective for me back when my mom was going through it. Was that it's hard on you and it's hard on the family, but the gift that it has to the person that's suffering from it is that every day is a new day and every person they see is a new friend.
Oh,
and
wow.
and so every day is, rather than look at it as the negative, look at it as the gift, and for them
Yeah,
they get to experience it all over again as if it's the first time, because for some it is again, right?
I like that. I,
Yeah.
I think I love the part that my dad never forgot me,
Ah,
and that just stuck with me. But everyone isn't that fortunate.
no, no.
And there's a different feeling when your mom or dad don't recognize you because of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I mean, your whole identity's wrapped up in that recognition, in a lot of
Hmm.
ways. And so
Yeah.
I think that's some very admirable work that you're going to be putting out, and can't wait to read it for sure. What is it about
Like
writing that really tickles your fancy?
being able to express myself because as a child I had to suppress a lot of things. Growing up, it's like children were to be seen, not always heard. I grew up with
Yeah.
boomer parents from the South.
Ah.
So yes, no back talk, no sassiness. But it's not bad. I'm asking a question. Don't even question me.
Yeah.
You know. So
Didn't
with
you hear what I
that,
said? Yeah.
yeah, that.
That's
So I
fact.
went. I found a notebook and started writing, and no one could say anything to me
Yeah.
until my dad found it. And there were, I mean, there were some unpleasant things, but why are you reading my notebook?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I didn't like that I didn't have any privacy. And when they explained that I couldn't even close the door, wow, I couldn't wait to grow up.
Yeah. Yeah. You and I have that in common as well. How was, aside from raised by Southern parents that, might have ruled with an iron fist, how was growing up in your home? What was that like? What was the best parts of your childhood that you remember?
Best parts of my childhood are my summer vacations. My
Okay.
dad was a social worker and he got extra time off during the summer somehow. We got Thanksgiving and Christmas and summers. So those vacations really helped me out. And I think my thing about growing up, especially as a little black girl in the 80s, was just having pop culture like the Whitney Houstons and Princes for music. And then, despite what Bill did, The Cosby Show, that being groundbreaking,
Yeah.
as well as The Fresh Prince of Bel Air, that
And a
was
different
also
world.
groundbreaking.
Yeah. Different world was
A
really
different
influential.
world,
Yeah.
correct. So it was like I was on the coming of age of a new black entertainment era.
Yeah.
And I love that from my childhood. I mean, everyone loves 90s hip hop and R&B. Come on. Yeah.
I mean,
So
does
you're
it
not
get any
even
better?
normal if you don't
Yeah.
like that.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Gotta give him a side eye. It's like, I don't trust you. I mean,
Yeah, I don't trust you. So that was the big thing. And I like that my parents advocated education because, like I said, it's a really big deal. And probably my other favorite thing about childhood was just my siblings and I. We played together. Even we had this WrestleMania thing that we did. I had two younger brothers, and they swore that they could kick my butt, and they could until one day I swore I had my little brother pinned down, and it was over. They tag team, and it was over. There was no more WrestleMania. They won.
no, what's really popular these days is to have the comeback series. Might be a great one to. I mean, we can get a whole reality series going on just the WrestleMania, or the rebirth.
Those were some good times. I don't care what anyone says. I know it's fake, but I love it.
That's awesome. I love that. Well, so I know from your bio you went into the service. You probably served in the Navy. What
Hmm.
motivated and inspired you to do that? And first and foremost, thank you for your service to our country. So
Thank
I really
you.
I really want to recognize that. But what motivated you to go to the Navy? That's kind of a big leap for a girl from the South.
I know it's a big deal, but actually, there are a lot of girls from the South in the Navy. Believe it or not, Mississippi, Louisiana. For me, it was just time to tap into that dream of leaving North Carolina.
Yeah.
I was deeply involved with my circle. And even my dad, he reminded me that, hey, you said you wanted more than this from life. What's going on? So when
Yeah.
I dropped out of school and just was lost, and I found myself in a recruiter's office, and there I was
Yeah.
going
What
away.
how so where did your service take you?
I only went to Jacksonville, Florida,
Okay.
and this place called Diego Garcia.
Yep.
And I was there for 4 years, and I loved every minute of it. It's the camaraderie. Everyone talks about the rules and, oh, I don't want anyone telling me what to do, but where are you going to work where no one tells you what to do? So I'm glad I didn't allow that to negate how I was going to experience the military. It's the best thing for me. It allows me to live the lifestyle I do today. I wouldn't take anything back, but I'm concerned about the military today.
In what way?
Just with the things going on, just the things going on in government and our administration. I'm deeply involved with the LGBTQ community, And that it's troublesome for me to know that we could possibly go back to a time when you can't serve based on your sexuality.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, we have young black and brown people coming in more and more. What does it say to them when their forefathers and foremothers have gone before them and can't get recognition because some reason that's tied to your skin tone? I don't like that. I'd have
No.
concerns about anyone considering going in right now.
Yeah. I I totally understand that. I'm actually speaking to a military organization next, gosh, better look it up, 2 weeks from now. But the the it's really designed. It's an organization called Merivis, and it's really designed to help active military find their footing and their opportunities after they leave the service, right? And
Okay.
sadly, the military, doesn't matter who's in office, right, has never been good at supporting exiting military to what's next, right? Educating them on how do you take what you learned in the military and apply that into the civilian sector, how you can take those skills, those values, that honor, and actually
Mhm.
utilize that as a strength in order to land your next job. And they do a really good job. I spoke for them when they first launched 10 years ago. They've got a 10-year conference reunion that's coming up. But the thing that I find that's a little concerning and alarming is the number of people that are transitioning out because there's concerns
Mhm.
about where it is, what's happening, the future of the military, doesn't matter what branch. And so their numbers are significantly higher than they ever have been. And it's unfortunate too, because I think, and you may have experienced this once you got out as well, is that the civilian world doesn't do a good job understanding the value and the resources and the assets people that served in the military are. They are just an absolute gem. I own a software company in addition to what I do for Ripple, and one of my best hires started off at the lowest level possible with my little, fledgling little software company. And now he's my COO, but he served in the military for 20 plus years and
Yeah.
20 years of giving his life. And then when he was ready to retire, it was almost like it never happened. Right. And didn't have resources and kind of basically got told, hey, look, the best you could hope for is a job at Jiffy Lube or work in a warehouse. And this guy's running, now a multi-million dollar software company and, keeping me out of trouble all the time or getting me into some occasionally. But at the end of the day, you just got to find people that believe in you. And I feel like now,
Oh,
especially with the
yes.
transition, it's so hard, right?
Yeah. And that's what I mean about the people going in, transitioning into the military, because they're going to need a mentor.
Yep.
They're going to need someone who watches over them, has their best interest. I can't say wholeheartedly that that's the case now, but I
Yeah.
do speak with veterans, and some of our experiences, I find that some people's experience were less pleasant than others,
Yeah.
for different reasons. But overall, I think for the veterans who came out during my era, we can say that we did have support. We had our
Yeah.
mentors intact. I cannot say that for this generation of young
Yeah.
military
Sadly.
members.
Well, and your reputation probably preceded you as a wrestling, champ before you got in. Were you
More
wearing
of
the
a
belt on
track
the first
star,
day or
Steve.
no?
No, I'm more of a runner, so I was a track star. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So was that something you did in high school or in club or in college or
Actually, no. I
okay.
no one knew that I could run until I joined the Navy
No
because
kidding.
I was so low key with it. Well, they called me prissy and said I didn't do anything other. I was a tomboy too, but no one thought I was athletic. So when I scorched the earth in boot camp, it was like, yeah, yeah. And we were in a
Yeah.
co-ed group, so I was in a group with guys. So yeah, it
That's
always feels
awesome.
great when you see the guy.
Yeah, and then you could just look back when they were like, "Where did that come from?" Be like, "Well, I am a
Mhm.
World Wrestling Federation champion. I mean, WrestleMania champion 32. Just saying."
I got a couple of belts under me.
So you left the Navy. If you enjoyed it, it was time of your life. Why did you transition out?
I had to transition out because I didn't go in to stay, and I
Okay.
wanted to pursue a career in entertainment. I
Okay.
really wanted to work in entertainment.
Okay. So you left that, and what was it that you were focused on to do in entertainment?
At that time, I was focused on screenwriting
No
and
kidding.
songwriting. Yeah, and so I was right down the road from Orlando, so it would be nothing to go into like the studios and stuff and record back then and just shop around material. I was delusional at the time, but I really thought I could do it. And I really did try to do it. So that's something I have no regrets about. When
That's
people ask
awesome.
me, like you just did, why'd you leave the Navy? That's something bigger in mind for
Yeah.
myself. And I
Well,
can still do that now. So,
yeah. Yeah, because when you sent me your bio, the write up, I just have to read this a little bit. You're a social worker by day, social
uh huh.
media influencer by night. I like that.
Yeah.
How do you balance that? How do you do? Tell us how does the average day of Blair Channing Rae actually go?
I wake up in the morning. I say a prayer of gratitude. I meditate for 10 minutes. I do 40 minutes of yoga. And I tell myself I'm going to have a good day.
I love that.
I had to start doing that and it works because you have to set the tone for the day. And yeah, so throughout the day, I'm helping people on the vocational side with their careers and mostly veterans. And then on the other side, I'm online. I don't consider social media even a pastime anymore. It's like I could do it in my sleep, you know? If someone sends me a DM, it's like, yeah, okay. Posting, sure, I can get that scheduled. If someone asks me, I saw you at a dinner. How'd you just post? Scheduler. I've
So
got
you
this.
missed the perfect opportunity. I can't tell you all my tricks. I'm magic. That's why you like me.
Yeah, and I like both sides. Say social work is different because again, you're doing a social thing. You're working with people, so that's my forte.
I love
People.
that. I love that.
Yeah.
So when you decided to make the run at social media, what was it that kind of determined that that was a path you wanted to explore as well, in addition to your day job?
I like connecting.
Yeah,
I'm always looking to hear different stories, not necessarily for fodder, but if I get some, that's good too. Everyone has a story, and I just feel really good about making an impact. At the end of the day, if I've made an impact, I'm even more thankful for the day.
I love that. Well, I can tell you from being a fan, you make the impact in a big, big way. So mission accomplished for sure. Um,
Thank you much.
you mentioned it, and I really want to give you know the proper space for this conversation, this topic, but mental health is important to you. You've had
Mhm,
your own dealings with it. You are not shy about why it's important to you and why people need to be more forthright about coming to talk because there are resources and opportunities to deal with some of these things that maybe people are dealing with in isolation or with a certain amount of shame. So what is it
mhm.
about that mission, that approach that is important to you, and what do you want to do with it?
For me, being an advocate for bipolar disorder is beneficial because it's one of those things that it frequently gets misdiagnosed. For a long time, I was diagnosed with only anxiety and depression. And so for like 5 to 6 years, I just had these bouts of depression and couldn't figure out what was going on in the other times when I wasn't depressed, but also wasn't really in the moment, not in a good headspace. So I spoke with a provider who asked me a litany of questions, some questionnaire I remember. And the next thing I know, she goes, "Oh, yeah, you're bipolar." And it was such a relief. I felt like the clouds had opened, the sun was coming out. But I mean, when you know something's wrong with you and no one's saying anything, it's like, no, there's got to be something. So I had an answer to my question. And from there, I wondered how many other people are out there struggling with bipolar disorder, and mostly the depression. People think the depression gets you to a point where it's debilitating. It does, but the mania is also just as debilitating. You don't go to sleep. You go with insomnia. You maybe you want to interact with people too much, reckless behavior, spending habits that are out of control. So the more I can talk about those things and keep people aware, then again, I'm making an impact. I'm doing my part. I just want to leave this world knowing I've made a difference in someone's life.
Well, I can tell you, mission accomplished. You made a difference in my life. You, by extension, made a difference in someone who I shared your profile with that when I was at a conference speaking in Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago. That I'm not even sure how the conversation came up, but they were asking me something about a video they had seen on my Instagram, and then I guess they follow my comments and they had seen your profile, and they're like, "Oh,
Mhm.
what can you tell me about this person?" I said, "Well, I'm going to get to know her a lot more because I'm going to be interviewing her." But the funny thing about it that not funny, haha, but coincidence kind of funny was that I mentioned to her, I said, the thing I really respect and admire about what Blair's doing is when you look at people from the outside, you think they got it all
Mhm.
figured out. Like, here's this woman that's like Vogue model pretty. She's got the personality that never ends. She's got this great like thing, right? This public perception.
Yeah.
And yet then you have the honesty about why this particular focus is important to you and why we need to be more open to conversation about it. I know it's the thing. A lot of people are like, oh, we should all be talking about it. But I actually reminded this lady, I said, it's just a reminder that, when we see people and see certain things, it's a reminder that you don't see everything. And there's people that are
Yeah.
dealing with struggles day in and day out. And why that made me, that what you just said made that come up in my heart was because you want to bring that out from the shadows. You want to help people know that you're not alone and you're the only one dealing with this, and that you
Yeah.
are living your life as an example of someone that can, battle through it and continue to fight another day. And I think that's just so inspirational.
Yeah, because you can.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah.
I've done it.
Yep. Well, and that's what I'm saying. I think I put you up on a pedestal as someone that just is proof of an example of someone that can continue to not give up and will continue to show up and not just say, well, this is my situation or my affliction, what I'm dealing with, and like, woe is me, but like, no, wow is me. And this is what you can do to get through it. And I think you do a tremendous job of that.
Thank you, Steve. That
Yeah.
really means a lot when
Oh,
others can see it. So, doing speeches, I talked about a period in time where I had a bout with major depressive disorder
hmm.
and I suffer from suicide ideation. And it was very scary for me because in my mind, you think, oh, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to deal with this. And it wasn't so much that I wanted to die, I wanted my problems to die.
Mm.
And coming back to myself, getting grounded in my own spirituality, my belief in me, and I was able to find a way out. And I know some people who never do, or they succumb to that influence. And then you have families around. I think the biggest thing too is that I knew that as long as I was breathing, there was an opportunity for change.
I love that.
So I'm here today.
That's
And I like
awesome.
talking about that because like I said, not all of us make it to see the next day.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's so powerful. And yes, you absolutely need a TED talk for that. You need to get that message out. So we're gonna figure that out.
Thank you so much.
So let me ask you, like, I know you said you like enjoy writing. Are you writing for purpose? Are you writing for fiction? Like you like telling stories that make up in your own head? Where's the area that you like to
Hmm.
spend the most time when you're actually like in the flow of writing?
Probably purpose because I do so much research.
Yeah,
It's nothing for me to go down a rabbit hole on Google. Start looking at anxiety. Next thing you know, you're doing anxiety in relationships. Then you're doing relationships and attachment theories, and yeah, it can go down any tangent. And occasionally, I do pivot to fiction. Uh, Everyone has a creative writing streak in them, I think.
yeah,
So there's this character I like called Abigail, not the doll, but just the name of a character named Abigail. And she's a newspaper journalist from the 80s, and she's trying to get started with her own ad company. And as you know, at that time in the 80s, a black
yeah.
woman with an ad company, that was not
Not gonna
happening.
happen. Yeah.
I've been piecing that together for years, but maybe one day.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. So one of my guests from a couple years back, but she's a good friend of mine. She's a professor at the University of Oklahoma. She is
Hmm.
a fiction writer, and she's had several of her books self-published, all of them, I think, and she's had a couple of them actually opted by Hallmark and Lifetime. So
I
she might
cannot
be a good
believe
connection for you just to talk. She loves talking writing, and she loves helping other
self
women writers.
publication is so hard, though, they say.
It is actually, but I mean, there's multiple ways to go about it, right? But the vast majority of like, especially fiction writers, they don't make a lot of money because the book price is very low anyway, so their percentage of what
Hmm.
they do, and then if you go through an agent and then you go through a publisher and then you're doing all this stuff, the when I produced my book, I had a really famous author that it was kind of one of my all time business heroes, and I was fortunate enough to meet him during my writing process and was actually trying to get signed by an agent and
Oh, that's
attract the
good.
attention of a publisher. And he's like, dude, if I was starting at your age, I would never do anything but self-publish. And I'm like, oh, really? And he's like, yeah, give me your address. I'm going to send you some stuff. And I had no idea what he was going to send me. But I asked him before our time was up, I said, well, I'm curious why, because you're like with one of the best publishers out there. And he said, I don't know my content. I do it. I do all the work. And he said, and I
Mhm.
do get paid some nice, I'm paid handsomely for my, signing bonuses. And, I've made it. So I've got some financial security built into my deal. But he's like, I'm still doing all the work and I do it for, a third of what I should be getting paid. And then I have to ask permission of the publisher to go and do speeches or to do workshops or trainings on my concepts, which I put in their book. Right. And I'm like, wow. I was just like, I was such a, just didn't know. I was immature in the space. And he said, no, if you do the self-publishing, not only do you control everything, you also absorb those costs, but it's not as expensive as you think. But then you own it and you don't ever have to go through somebody else in order to like sell it if it's a screenplay or opt it for, a series or you can negotiate the deals that make the most sense to you. And I would tell you, I'm in my third edition of my book. I need to write another book, but when it's not broke, why fix it? But this thing has made more money than I ever anticipated from a little side project. And so
Third
him,
edition.
yeah, third edition of my book, yeah. Um, but my friend Kimberly, she like seems to produce these kind of romance novels that come out like seem
Mhm.
like every 12 to 18 months, but she has a rhythm, she has a process. She's got a
Yeah.
couple of characters that like yours that she's now followed through multiple books and then she's got this fan base and she's done it all pretty much on her own. And
Wow.
because of that, she gets to keep the
Self-publishing.
spoils. Yeah. So, yeah, see, you didn't know I was like going to be able to hook you up with like, cool authors and TED people. It's rippling. It's rippling. That's what it
It
is.
ripples on. It
Yeah.
ripples on. Hey, can I get a T-shirt? I was going to
Yeah.
ask you about that. Okay,
Absolutely.
cool.
Yep. Yeah. What color do you want? This is orange, but I can get you.
Orange is good.
All right. Cool. Cool. Um, so so you're working on that kind of on the side and then for a purpose are you working aside from this book are you working on any other projects from a writing perspective?
No, I think that's keeping me busy, and it's only because I'm starting to go out more, and eventually I'd like to get more involved with the community.
Yeah.
Gonna make it home here. Um, So yeah, that's about it. And that blog is going to keep me busy, I think.
I think so.
Because you have to put content up there and you got to churn it out in order to get readers, and it's just a lot of work. But I know
So
you're helping me, so I
yeah,
appreciate
well,
it.
I'm going to promote the hell out of you for sure because I'm a huge fan. So I'm curious, why did you pick Medium versus like any of the other platforms out there?
Medium works for me because I actually think Medium is a cool place for writers, like some very hip writers. And I think of it as like the alt version. If we had an MSNBC for blogs, it would be Medium.
It's
Yeah, 'cause it's just very progressive. It's what Huffington Post used to be
yeah,
to me. Yeah,
yep.
it's my
Oh,
algorithm anyway.
yeah, I love that. So when you're not doing the social work by day and you're not being a social media influencer by night and you're writing in between, what do you do with the rest of your free time?
I'm doing karaoke and rollerblading and making playlists.
I was going to ask you
I
about the
love
playlist.
karaoke, and my playlists help me with my karaoke.
That's all. So what's your favorite song to sing in karaoke?
Oh, What's Love Got to Do with It by Tina Turner.
Yeah.
She set it all up for me. It was Tina Turner when I was a little girl. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, so that's what I'm going to look like when I get older? Yeah. Not like my grandma's friend down the street, but I'm going to look like Tina Turner.
And sad, Tina was probably 10 years older than her too, right?
I'm just saying.
That's awesome. So do you karaoke very often?
I do about once a week or once every 2 weeks. It's
Dang.
often.
That's
Yeah. And
awesome.
I don't have to go with the group either, but if I have a group, all good.
That's cool. That's cool. So, and rollerblading?
I love rollerblading ever since
Really?
I was a kid. You grew up in the 80s, you know what a roller derby is. So I
That,
never grew out of it.
so you're just rollerblading, but you're not doing the roller derby yet.
And I'm
That could
not
combine
going
your
to
passion of
because
wrestling right there.
let's discuss something, Steve. See, at this advanced age, there's no way. There's no way I'm going on anyone's.
You
No.
you can
Mm-mm.
break a hip that way.
I like being mobile.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like it very much. Yeah.
They always say, that walking's overrated. I don't think so. That's what my
No.
wife tells me because I still play on two soccer teams, and I was soccer coach for a long time. And I get out there and I come home, I'm like beat up, like I'm the old guy.
Where do you find the time for a soccer team?
It's always at night, Wednesday or Friday nights. Those are my mental release nights.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. I
Yeah,
can't picture that. Software company, podcast, two soccer squads. Oh, and
yeah,
he's married too. So your wife's like, my time here, my
yeah.
time.
Or like, hey, go! I need my time.
Forgot about that,
She's like,
JJ.
yeah, I've known you way too long. Go ahead, play soccer. Just don't call me when you hurt something because I'm not getting out of bed to go get you at the
Yeah.
ER.
Yeah. That's just the concern we have to worry about at our
Yeah,
age.
the older you get, the injury pain hurts. It turns out. I shattered my
Aging hurts.
right after COVID, like November 21. I shattered my shoulder playing soccer, and I thought, okay, first of all, I'm not a keeper. I shouldn't be hurting my shoulder in soccer.
Mm.
But when they went in, they had shattered the whole backside of it. So I have like a metal bar. I'm like part Iron Man now because it just like goes from here to here.
When you go to
And
the airport, it's like ding, 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 ding,
yeah,
ding, ding.
no, somehow it doesn't ding. I don't know. And I haven't been wanded or anything. So I'm like, hey, they must give me some like super new, special,
Okay, $6
metal.
million man version.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that was my favorite series growing up in the '70s. So We have the technology. We can rebuild him. Doesn't make him any smarter, but we'll rebuild him.
Sasquatch, Bigfoot, wasn't
Oh
that what it
yeah,
was? Oh, I loved it every time Bigfoot was on there.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The Bigfoot, and it was Steve Austin with Jamie Summers, the Bionic Woman, and they had to take him
Yep.
on. Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. I thought that was Lindsay Wagner.
Well, the actress is, but Jamie Summers was the Bionic Woman's
Oh, okay. It
name.
was the Bionic
Yeah.
Woman. Right.
Steve Austin was like the coolest name ever. So I was like, when I moved to Austin, like Steve Austin. I mean, I still have the action figure somewhere. I got to find it because that's awesome.
This is my Steve Austin was so popular with my aunt. I think she had like two posters up, and then he came out with the Fall Guy or
Oh,
something. I
yeah.
just thought it was a weird obsession.
Oh,
Yeah, him and Farrah, was it Farrah
yeah.
Fawcett he was married
Yeah.
to? Yeah. I
Yeah.
know too much about her People magazines. My aunt read People. So it was like, oh, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, my mom did too. That was the only way I got any social. Yeah, that was for these people who are like, "What the hell are you guys talking about?" It's like this was
Right?
social before there was social. Right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's where you got the
Mm-hmm.
news every week. Like who's dating who broke up with who. You know,
Yep.
how did the
Get
bionic
married,
woman
do
not end
show.
up with the bionic man? I don't know. It just happened.
Crazy, crazy
That's
times.
awesome. Well, listen, I could talk to you all day. I have such deep affection for you and what you're doing and the impact you're making in the world. One of the things I like to do with this show, however, is although people will see that you got personality for days, they don't probably need to see any, they don't need proof of that. But I always like to ask some ripple connection questions just to give people a different sense of who my guest is. Are you okay with that?
Oh, wow. Okay.
They're
Am I
fun to
ready for
ask, fun
this?
to answer. So there are no gotchas here. But what
Okay.
did the 7-year old version of Blair want to be when she grew up?
Oh, an entertainer.
And in what capacity?
Singing.
Singing.
Karaoke. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't want to assume. I mean, you were 7. I don't know. You were following Sasquatch on television, so I mean, it could have been an actor. I don't
And
know.
Tina Turner.
And Tina Turner. That's true. Yeah, you're right. You did say that was a clue for sure. What about I mean you only turned 26 once, so you're just now probably just 26. What do you want to be now when you grow up?
Impactful.
I love that. I love that. What's the best thing you could hear someone that you've worked with through your social work say about you as a person?
That I was empathetic and kind and there, present.
I love that. I love that. What if they were to make a movie about Blair's life, what would the
Mhm.
title be?
To the woman I was.
Oh, I love that. I
Yeah,
love
it's
that.
an essay I'm working on, and I that was an easy one for me because I had
That's
to tap
awesome.
back into that.
If you weren't singing and you weren't
Mhm,
writing and you weren't doing the
mhm.
social work thing, what would you be doing?
I'd probably be somewhere sipping on a pina colada. Nah, seriously. What would I be doing for fun? I know,
or for
doing my
work, either one. Yeah, what
for
would
what
you be doing
I,
if those
one of my favorite hobbies is collecting magazines, the
really?
glossy fashion magazines. I still have magazines from like 1991.
No kidding.
Yeah. So that's one of my things. Some people like stamps. I like fashion magazines.
Yours is infinitely more interesting than stamps, let me tell you.
Hey, have you seen Cindy Crawford from 1991?
I mean, I know
Wow,
there
my
you could
magazine
put that on
collection.
eBay right now and probably, make a house payment with it.
The most I've seen, I think it was an Elle or Vogue cover, and that was from '89. It wasn't worth more than like 30.
So you're
So
not collecting for your future fortune. You're not sitting on the gold mine of opportunity.
I just say one day Somebody's gonna go through my stuff and be like, "She was a weird one." Yeah, yeah, because
is
I'm quirky as yeah,
is
quirky.
is that your goal? Just to have somebody have that. You'd be looking down, be like, ah, I knew it.
If I get caught, I get caught. It's okay. I want someone to
I mean,
know
you just
it.
ratted yourself out, so you're kind of caught anyways.
True, but how do you know I don't have this up on my profile somewhere,
This
Steve?
is true. That's very true. That's
Mhm,
very true.
mhm. I thought about it.
Well, since you're writing a book about social media and the
Hmm.
psychology of social media, what is it
Hmm.
about that topic that fascinates you?
Besides the characters, zany characters, um, just the different topics. It's a microcosm, of course, of the world, and it's right there at our fingertips. And I think the way that we interact with people says a lot about ourselves.
Yeah. Yep. I love that. What do you think your interaction says about you?
My interaction says that I'm quirky, definitely funny. At least I think I'm funny,
Yeah, you're definitely funny.
and chatty.
Chatty. I love that.
Chatty, yeah.
That's good. I like that. If you could give one piece of advice to a woman of color that's coming into her career and trying to find her way in the world, what would it be?
Be yourself. Be observant. And always look for innovative ways to do things differently. It's helped me a lot. But the last thing I'll say, and the most important thing, is always say thank you.
I love that. I love that. That's fantastic. If you were to potentially think back to who had a direct influence in helping you become the awesome person you are today, who would you give that credit to and why?
That credit solely goes to my dad for his presence in my life and for helping me accept the person that I am.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
When your parent
fantastic.
knows you and they can help you like ground yourself, that's a big deal.
Yeah, that's great. No doubt he's looking down on you and very, very proud of the person you've become. And yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So, last couple of questions. If people want to get in touch with you or follow you on social, what's the best way that you'd like them to do that? You want them to go to your website? Do you have a handle?
I have the I Write a Girl handle. And it's so original that people have added numbers and letters to the end, but no one can get I Write a Girl.
They're not the
Like,
original.
Apple
Yep.
should pay me.
I agree.
But seriously, probably Threads. And again, the user handle I Write a Girl is throughout social media: Blue Sky, Medium, Twitter, X, uh, Threads, Instagram, all that.
Well, I got to ask you, what's your favorite social platform of all of them? Where do you spend the
Right
most
now, I'm
time?
really loving Threads.
Really?
And I
Okay.
think because it's wordy and there are actually some insightful conversations, as well
Yeah.
as Blue Sky. I'm all
Yep.
about, the interaction conversations.
That's awesome. I love that. Well, last two questions. When you hear the words the ripple effect, what does that conjure up in your mind? What's your reaction to those words?
When I hear the ripple effect, I think immediately of water, ripples in the water, but also like actions reverberating.
Yeah, that's good. I love
Yeah.
that. It's a great definition. Um,
How'd you come up with that, by the way?
Great question. I sold a company in 2004 and started to write a book for I thought was going to be for salespeople because I saw so many bad salespeople out there that didn't understand what it took to make a career in sales. That
Mhm.
it wasn't about transaction; it's about relationships, right? And if you build a relationship with a client, you take care of them, you do what you say you're going to do. they have a tendency to tell other people that are of similar stature, which brings more business and opportunity your way. So you don't have to work as hard. And I'm all about not working hard if I can avoid it. It's not true. My wife
Great
would be like,
advice.
liar, you are a liar. But anyway, um, but I started off there and then I got caught like writer's block. And the guy
Mhm.
that I was working with at the time said, well, what made you a good entrepreneur? Because I'd sold this company and day two of selling the company, I had two of my existing clients said, hey, come teach us about customer service and leadership and business development. And I'm like, me? Like, I don't do anything. I'm a nobody. But they asked me to come and do a talk and then they paid me money. Like I didn't even ask for money and they gave me money. It was like, damn, what is this? This is great. And, and I said, well, it's kind of like, the ripple effect. You cast that
Mhm.
stone, it creates that splash. You don't know how deep your action goes, but one thing is inevitable, and it's science. A ripple ripples out, but then it always ripples back to where the point of origin, right? So when you
True,
create a
true.
positive ripple for someone, um, whether you pay them a compliment, you make them smile, you make them feel seen, you give them a hug when they're having a rough day, you acknowledge whatever the issue or challenge might be, but you don't like bash them for it. You do something to show them that you are there and you see them as another person. And that's true
Yeah.
for human interactions, or it could just be you walking across the parking lot and picking up that Coke, can that's now been crushed a dozen times and throwing it in the trash can, right? It's contribution back to the
Yeah.
world. But every action that we have has in some form or fashion a way of returning back to us. And it often happens in ways that we don't expect.
So that's Ripple on.
That's Ripple. Yep. Yeah. And so Ripple On was sort of a stupid way to look at this. But when I first brought out my book, I thought, I would sell maybe a couple hundred copies of my book and my dad would buy the rest of the inventory and I'd be done, from there. But I had a book signing and I had people I hadn't even seen or invited. I was like, what the hell are these people even know? It's free booze and food, but like, it was like the dinner bell for people I hadn't even talked to in years. And then people came through the kind of the receiving line and I was signing the books. And as I got my first book, the gal that was helping me, she said, well, you need a signature. Like you need something like other than your name. You need a moniker of some sort. I'm like, I don't know what it should be. And I was like, Ripple On. Like, okay. And I'll just Ripple On. And I thought that's for tonight that I'll never stick. And here it is 16 years later.
Chicken.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. But what
Yeah.
was amazing to me was how many people came through for this little tiny book at the time. And it's now expanded and grown to the third edition. But
Third
how,
edition.
yeah, third edition I wrote during COVID because I wasn't sure at the time if we would be, if that was going to be our only pandemic. And what I saw was, see, I'm naturally introverted and shy. People are not my
Hmm.
jam. And I told you in my email, I was nervous to even record with you because you're a rock star. But the funny thing is during COVID, I saw people the extroverts who were accustomed to being around people really climbing the walls. And even my
Yeah.
introverted people who hate people were like, I need some freaking people in my life. And so we started
Hmm.
looking at, okay, well, how are people using social media tools at the time? We
Yeah.
wanted to expand the stories because it had been, at that point, it had been 11 years since I brought out the first edition. The second edition had done well, but every time I speak, every time someone finds the book, somebody ends up coming back with a story of how, you would have thought, if I'd gone down one path, life would have been one way, but I went down the other path and life turned out so much better than I expected. And those little
Yeah.
things, those little actions that happen in our lives and our careers, those are all what I believe is ripples, right? So we expanded those stories and then the book sold, really, really well post pandemic. Mainly because people were bored or maybe they didn't have heat and they needed firewood or, kindling. I'm not
I
sure,
was
but
like, how did I miss that you on the third edition of a book?
yeah, it's been the little engine that could. I never expected it to be as well received as it has been. But it's a
Yeah.
textbook for three major universities. I've got people as far as Australia and New Zealand that have reached out to me like, "Hey, I got this book. I love it. Love
Yeah.
your take on it." But what is advanced beyond the book is like actually the ripple image. The book was a process and it was told from an entrepreneur's perspective and it wasn't just
Hmm.
sales. It was, hey, how do you grow a business? How do you grow a brand? How do you grow a reputation? But where it has actually evolved to now is it's a movement. It's a community. It's people like me that want to get together and want to actually add value and contribute to other people's lives. And we don't keep score. We don't expect payback. I don't expect, quid pro quo. If it happens, it happens. But my belief is that you create enough positive actions out there in the world, it'll take care of you. And, you call it karma, you could call it ripple, you could call it the butterfly effect, you could call it, pay it forward, whatever it is. But there's not enough of us out there trying to do it on the regular, right, on the daily basis. And so
Correct.
my intent with this book is basically to change people's perspectives, and especially now when the vast majority of us can only communicate through these devices, right? And, we're no good with human to human interaction. We need to
Yeah.
teach people to get better at that. And you and I are kind of proof of that. We didn't know each other beforehand, but I kind of felt like we were friends. You were super great to work with to get this scheduled. But at the end of the day, you're exactly as advertised. And I knew you would be, and I knew you'd be even more awesome because you just see these things in people and you just know that they're gifts that got placed in your path for a reason. And if you miss that, that's on you, right? And I think the
Yeah.
vast majority
Yeah.
of us miss it because we're so caught up in our own nonsense. So trying to,
And
impart the wisdom to get people to understand what the concept is and get it out there.
well, thank you for providing that sage wisdom.
Oh my God, I may have to clip just that part and actually show that to my wife. Like somebody gets me.
Sage wisdom. And I take that back. Can I have that less ripple in a yellow?
Yeah, I can work on that. I can work on that. I don't know if I have yellow,
Okay,
to be
cool.
honest with you. I have blue, I have black, I have red, I have
I'll
two
take
shades of
black.
blue. You have what?
I'll take black.
Take black. All right, I'll get it to you. So you'll
Okay.
you'll email me your address. I'll ripple that on to you. How about that?
That works for me.
My
And
last
thank you
question is
again for
what?
having me. Oh,
Yeah, one last question for you is what is a ripple I could be looking to create for you? What ripples could I create for you?
ripples you could create for me would probably most likely be opportunities to speak more.
Okay. So I already have an idea there. We'll connect offline about that, but I definitely have a environment to
Oh, you
hook
move
you up.
fast.
Yeah,
You move fast.
I'm like a jackrabbit on a blind date.
Oh my God. Why am I thinking Bruce Almighty when he like, oh,
Oh,
takes over the world?
oh my God, I haven't thought about that movie in like forever.
Yes.
That
Okay.
that's awesome. Well, I will definitely keep an eye open for opportunities to get you on stage and both speaking and maybe singing. Who knows?
I'm always available for both, just so you know.
Yep. Awesome. Well, I just have to say this has been an absolute blast, and I am so grateful that you took the time to do this. I know we had some back and forth on the schedule because you're a world traveler and in demand and all that, and I appreciate your patience as I dealt with some stuff with my dad. But I'm really, really grateful for your friendship and so grateful to know you. And I'm a huge fan and happy to help and support you any way I can.
Likewise, and thank you. And I hope things get better with your dad.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's interesting times. Let's put it that way. So, for sure.
Gotcha.
But guys, we'll be back again with another episode of the Ripple Effect podcast. But until then, Blair, ripple on.